Hello, welcome to Legislative Report. I'm State Representative Kate Harper of the 61st District in Montgomery County, Pennsylvania. And today, we're outside at the Wissahickon Valley Watershed Association headquarters, the Four Mills Barn and Nature Preserve. And we're on the Green Ribbon Trail with Gail Farmer, the Executive Director of the Watershed Association. Thanks for joining me, Gail.
Thank you so much for having me, Kate. It's my pleasure.
All right, well, usually what I do is start out by asking my guests to tell a little bit about yourself. Where'd you grow up?
Sure.
How'd you get interested in working for a watershed association?
Right, so I'm a transplant. I grew up in Massachusetts, just a little outside of Boston.
Boston, I can tell.
And I fell in love with nature as a kid. We had this undeveloped hill behind our house, and that's where I spent all my free time. I was allowed to, I had all my adventures on that hill, and that's where I developed my love and passion for the environment. I've worked for environmental nonprofits my whole career. I started out doing field biology. Then I, about 10 years ago, got more involved in sort of program administration, and I started my new position at the watershed in November of 2016. And, I live in Flowertown, which is really nearby.
Watershed.
It's in the watershed. And I was familiar with the organization's work, and so when the opportunity to serve as executive director came up, I jumped at the chance.
All right, and you're married, you have two little boys?
I am, yep. I'm married. I met my husband on an uninhabited island in Alaska. It was the two of us living there doing our graduate research. We were either going to fall in love or
hate each other.
So happy ending.
Yes.
We got married. We have two boys who are 9 and 10, and they live in the watershed too.
Well, I think that's great that you're here. We're happy to have you. Mm-hmm. And I was wondering, exactly what does the Wissahickon Valley Watershed Association do?
Yeah, that's a great question. We really work with the residents of the Wissahickon Valley to essentially ensure that their community is a place where people and nature can thrive. So in the 60 years of our organization's existence, we've protected just under 1,300 acres of open space in the Wissahickon Valley.
Wow, that's a lot.
Yeah, it is a lot. We have 13 nature preserves, and we maintain 24 miles of trails that are free and open for the public to enjoy. And we do all this because we really believe that people benefit when nature can thrive.
Now, we're sitting on a little stretch of the Green Ribbon Trail. That's one of the signature achievements, I think, of the Wissahickon Valley Watershed.
Yep.
What is the Green Ribbon? Where does it start? Where does it end?
Yeah, the Green Ribbon Trail is a 21-mile trail that starts up in North Wales, right at the Parkside Place. And it's a trail that runs all the way down along the Wissahickon Creek, and it can take you right to Forbidden Drive in Philadelphia.
Which is part of Fairmount Park.
Yep.
And the Wissahickon Creek runs into Fairmount Park
Yep.
and the Schuylkill River eventually, right?
Yep, right. And you can continue on a trail right along the Wissahickon Creek on Forbidden Drive right into Center City.
So I myself have used these trails not just for walking, but also horseback riding. What else do people do on the trails?
Right, well, they take their their families. We often see families out here walking the trails. People run. People ride their horses. A lot of dog walking happens on our trails. It's really a place where people can connect with each other, with their pets, and enjoy the outdoors.
Now, I know that you're part of an initiative that involves all the communities along the creek and the Department of Environmental Protection, DEP, that has to do with the health of the creek.
Yeah.
What's that project called, and what's it all about?
Yeah, so that is called the Wissahickon Clean Water Partnership. And it's really an amazing collaboration between 13 municipalities that, like you said, run along the Wissahickon Creek or in the watershed. There's 4 nonprofit organizations that play a role. So the watershed is one of them. The Pennsylvania Environmental Council, the Maryland Center for Environmental Finance, and Temple University, all working together to come up with a shared water quality improvement plan for the Wissahickon Creek. So this is really kind of a groundbreaking initiative because it's municipalities working across, sort of political lines or
municipal boundaries
to protect and improve the health of a shared water body.
So how many municipalities are involved in this effort?
13.
And is that everybody along the creek?
It's everybody. I think there's 2 who are not involved, but they have such a tiny sliver of land that's actually in the Wissahickon watershed. It didn't make sense for them to be involved because it's just like
Now,
not substantial.
most of the time, people view, at least local government folks, and I am chair of House Local Government Committee, so most people in local government view DEP with some suspicion and worry.
Okay.
Because the regulations that keep the water clean or help the water become clean are often expensive for the municipal governments to handle. Is this an effort to get people to see the creek as more than their own township?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great point. Like the creek is a shared resource, and I think by aligning the efforts, across municipalities, we can more efficiently see a meaningful change in the health of the creek.
I also think, though, that most of the municipalities view the creek as an amenity. In other words, something they're proud to be part of.
Right, yes. Yep. And I think that's true of the residents as well. So this is another nice opportunity for us to connect sort of an icon, which is the Wissahickon Creek, for the communities of the region, with things like how we plan our communities, how we build out our communities, more regulatory type of things.
Sure. Now, I know one of the big issues in the watershed, and probably all over Pennsylvania these days, is stormwater management. Does the Wissahickon Valley Watershed Association have any opinions on how that should be done?
So we are very involved in stormwater management work in the communities of the watershed. And really, I think there are efforts by all the municipalities in the watershed to improve how stormwater is managed in their townships.
Sure. Everybody's trying.
Everybody's trying, right. And, there are limitations and challenges in a place like the Wissahickon Valley where it's highly residential.
Highly developed.
Highly developed, highly residential. So for a municipality, they really are limited either through like ordinance and regulations or installing stormwater management infrastructure on properties they own. It's harder for them to address the residential piece, but the residences cover the vast majority of the land cover.
Right.
So the question that I think that the Watershed Association, where we have a role to play, is helping to address the stormwater management issues on the residential component.
And are there things that you would advise families in the watershed to do that might help not just stormwater management, but water quality in the creek?
Yeah, so we do workshops throughout the year, educating and helping people to install, engage in like stream-friendly practices on their properties. This includes rain barrels.
I have a rain barrel.
Excellent, very good.
I think I probably got it from the watershed.
Great. Rain gardens, composting is another thing that we do workshops about, but those just to name a few.
So what's a rain garden?
A rain garden is it's just a special kind of garden where you plant plants that like wet soils.
Sometimes I've heard people call that plants with wet feet.
Yeah, exactly, plants with wet feet. And the thing that a rain garden can do is it absorbs water because those plants are water-loving plants. So it can take the water that's running over it and pull it down into the soil, which is then that reduces the amount of water that's running across the surface and going into your storm drain or ending up, in the creek.
And what happens if you don't control the water that runs into the creek,
Yeah, well, a lot of things happen. So when the water runs over the surface of the ground, it picks up a lot of pollution. So oils from, the roads, salts from the roads, pesticides, herbicides, and also picks up a lot of dirt, sediment. And all those things end up just getting plopped, right into the creek, and it affects the chemistry of the water, which affects what can live there. And then all that sediment the dirt that comes across that's carried in the water as it runs over land.
Right.
It also affects the health of the creek because it makes it cloudy. The light doesn't penetrate through the water. When the dirt settles, it covers the plants that animals would be using for food, shelter, or cover. So yeah, it's pretty damaging. The surface water runoff can have a big impact on the health of the creek.
Now, some of our folks watching live in Springhouse, which is a pretty high water table, is aptly named. I think most homeowners just hope the water doesn't run into their basements.
Right, yeah, absolutely.
So they're happy if it runs away quickly, but that might not be the best for the creek.
Right, it's not the best for the creek. And, if we were able to catch the rainwater and give it an opportunity to go into the ground in places where we want it to go into the ground. So that's called percolation, when the water has an opportunity to seep into the ground, and then it stops its journey along the surface. The more water we can capture and get to seep into the ground, the less water that's coming and running up behind your house and getting into your basement. We do want to reducing surface water runoff also helps to reduce flooding.
Okay, so I've heard it said that a healthy creek is a shady creek.
Yes.
Or maybe a shady creek is a healthy creek. I don't know. Why is that?
Yeah, well, shade, if the sun is on the water like it is behind us,
Very pretty.
It's beautiful, but it changes the temperature of the water. And the animals that live in the water, like trout and other fish, they need oxygen in the water to breathe. Oxygen needs cool temperature water. And so the warmer the water gets, the less oxygen that's available, and the poorer of an environment it is for the wildlife in the creek, like the fish.
So planting trees is a good idea?
Planting trees if you live along a creek and it comes up to your yard, if you can plant some trees along the edge, that'll provide shade and that'll keep the temperature of the water cooler.
And I think trees will also suck up some of this rainwater we're worried about, right?
Absolutely, yeah. The trees actually, they work in a couple of ways. One of the best things that trees does to reduce stormwater surface runoff is all the leaves in the canopy catches the rain and slows it down on its path to the ground. Because with rainwater runoff, there's two problems. One is the quantity of water that's flowing across the surface. The other is the velocity, and the more water there is, the faster it tends to move. So when the trees and the leaves catch the rain, it slows everything down. So there's less water hitting the ground at any given time and moving across, it becomes a less powerful force across the surface of the ground.
Okay, so to recap, plant trees.
Yes.
Have a rain barrel.
Yes.
If you have room or the space or the desire, have a rain garden or something like that, and that helps the creek ultimately.
That helps the creek. Yeah, keep it healthy and beautiful.
I want to switch focus just a little bit and talk about who helps you get your work done.
Yeah.
And I know that you have a lot of fabulous volunteers because I saw them in the office on the way over.
Right. Yeah, we do. We have a lot of volunteers, and that's a big part of our mission is to engage community members and let them, be a part of the work to protect and care for, the nature in our communities. But we also, we need this work that we do, protecting open space, stewarding those open spaces to create high quality habitat and high quality places for people to experience nature. It costs money. So we also depend on individuals in the communities contributing, becoming members, or making a donation to our annual fund, and we also get grants. So we have several foundations that we go to to financially support this work. And the state also is an important part of our ability to raise the money that we need. So we get grants from DCNR to support land protection, stewardship work, trail expansion and maintenance work. So it's really a lot of people, but also the work, we wouldn't exist without the community supporting us through funding as well.
All right. And when you say DCNR, you and I both know you're talking about
Right.
the Department of Conservation and Natural Resources.
Yes. Yeah.
And they're statewide, and they give you grants for trails. What else?
Trails, land acquisition. So, we have 13 preserves. A number of those, sometimes people donate their property, and that's wonderful. But sometimes we have to buy the property in order to protect it.
Land around here is expensive.
And it's expensive, right? So usually for those properties, we need to get a group of funders together, and it's usually a mix of individuals, maybe a local municipality or township, and the state. Like if we didn't have the opportunity to go to DCNR for some grant funds to help us purchase and acquire property to protect it, it would be incredibly difficult for us to have created these 13 preserves, the Green Ribbon Trail, and all these other wonderful sort of quality of life enhancing assets for our community.
So people can feel proud that just paying their taxes helps you do your work.
It does. Yeah, it does.
So that's a good thing.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about other things. I think the Wissahickon Watershed helps with education of children also.
We do, yeah. So we work in several school districts in the watershed. So right now, actually all this week, third graders and fourth graders from the Wissahickon School District, our educators have spent 2 days in their classrooms, every third and fourth grade classroom in the school, teaching them about, the creek, ecology and the environment. And then they come out here for the third day, and they actually get to get their feet wet in the stream, collect little bugs that live in the creek, and that tell us, the bugs tell us something about the state of the health of the creek, and they get to collect the bugs and do some research and play in the stream. It's really a fabulous experience.
And they'll grow up to be people like us who care about it.
Yeah, well, that would be nice. Or at least maybe appreciate that their tax dollars, support this type of work.
Right. Okay. So when you talk about bugs in the creek, I think I've heard it said that more bugs are good.
more bugs, but I think even what's better is a mix. Like you want a diversity of bugs.
Okay.
You want to have a nice mix of all different kinds of bugs to have a healthy creek, because each different kind of bug plays a different role in the stream environment. Some of them chew up and decompose leaves. Some of them are predators and they eat other insects in the creek. Some, they all have different jobs to do.
And they all work together to help the creek.
Right, yeah. In total, they are what makes the creek healthy.
Now, I don't want to get too far into the weeds on this one, but I know that the Wissahickon used to have many mills. And of course, the Wissahickon Valley Watershed Association owns the Mumbauer Mill.
We do, yep.
Right. But the fact that it was, that there were mill races and a lot of mills along the creek, is that part of the sediment issue?
Oh, I don't know the answer to that. There were 70 mills along the Wissahickon Creek in its heyday. Yeah,
It's amazing.
It is. And now we own the Evan Mumbauer Mill. It's I think it's the only working.
It does work. I've been in it. And
yeah.
they can turn it on and make it work. It's
yeah,
amazing.
water powered. So I don't know what about the sedimentation. I think most of the sedimentation issues are more from the modern era, post-development type of issues.
Okay, and that's why you deal so much with stormwater management.
Exactly.
And trying to keep the water sinking into the ground where it falls instead of running across the roads and getting into the creek.
Right. Yep.
Let's talk a little about wildlife.
Okay.
Now, we have a lot of deer around here.
We do.
And I'm sure some of our viewers don't like the deer because the deer have a taste for everything that grows in my garden. I don't know about you.
Yeah.
But we have a lot of deer in the watershed. How do you feel about them in the watershed?
Well, I think, deer belong here. They're a part of the ecosystem. Mm-hmm. They're out of balance right now. There are too many deer for what the current habitat that's available can support. There's not enough food. They go into your garden and it's like the most wonderful buffet they ever could have dreamed of.
Right.
Because when they go in the forest, a lot of what's there either are things they don't like because they're not native, or it's already been eaten. They've already eaten it all.
They browsed it, believe me.
Yeah, there are parts of Pennsylvania where they're concerned that forests won't have the opportunity to regenerate because the deer are eating all of the new saplings that come up. So there are too many deer.
So that's why when you see new trees here and there, they all have those little tubes around them.
Yep. We have to protect them from the deer because the deer will eat them because they're hungry.
They sure are. Okay, so is there anything homeowners ought to do for the deer or with the deer? Got any advice?
Oh gosh, I don't think there's much homeowners can do for the deer. There are all kinds of strategies of how you can try to prevent the deer from eating your gardens.
I've heard a whole lot of things.
Yeah, and with mixed success. I think we should appreciate the hunters. I do. Because they help to keep that balance. We don't have any top predators for deer anymore. It's basically humans that drive
Fords.
Yeah, exactly. It's cars that drive their population or starvation. There are places in Pennsylvania where deer are not getting enough nutrition from the habitat. I
just don't have it. Okay, so let's talk, and I'm not going to ask you which is your favorite preserve, because that's like asking you which is your favorite child. I know that. But can you talk a little bit about the individual preserves and what you like about this one or that one?
Okay, sure.
And where they are, so people can find them and go visit.
Yes. Okay? I'll start with this one. This is the Green Ribbon Trail, but it's the Four Mills Preserve. And our office is right across the creek. So this is the place I can come and take a walk. This is like my thinking trail. This is where I come when I need to take a break and just sort of chew on what's happening, what I'm working on in the office, and I do that here. Crossways Preserve, which is just down the road, just down Morris Road on the left. Not Crossways, Camp Woods.
Yes, very famous.
That's the place I go when I want to connect with history and sort of feel that.
Washington soldiers camping out there.
Right, exactly.
Freezing.
Yeah, and that's what fuels my imagination at Camp Woods. Just down the road from there is Crossways Preserve, and that's a place, it's got a beautiful meadow, there's a woodland. We're doing a lot of work to improve the meadow for pollinators and for birds, so that's the place I go when I want to experience meadow and watch insects and watch the birds.
And these are all places people can just go to
Anybody
without
can go.
charge.
Yep, without charge.
And there's trails at all these
places.
There's
trails at all of them. Yep.
Okay. And are there any particular parts of the Green Ribbon Trail that you like? Now I know where Crossways is. That's off of Plymouth Road and Cathcart.
Yep.
Right in Gwinnett Valley. Mm-hmm. Things like that. And Camp Woods is off of Morris Road.
Yep.
I'm not sure what township that is.
I think it's in Whitpain.
I think so too. Right. And anybody can go there and walk around or get their thoughts together or watch the birds. Now I also know you're very lucky. One of your members, a friend of mine, Jamie Stewart, is a wonderful photographer.
Yes, he is. Yes,
and I know he takes lots of pictures for the watershed.
He does. Thank goodness.
And I will tell you, he once took my picture at some watershed event, and I said, "Make me look as good as one of those birds." Okay. He's that good.
You put it in the right context for him.
Right, because all of his birds look beautiful.
Right,
but you have people like that who are members who help you show the beauty of the watershed to the rest of the world.
We do, yeah. It's a very special. Actually, for me, I've worked at other environmental nonprofits before I came to the watershed, and that in particular is what has been so special and so amazing to me and unique about the Watershed Association is how much it embraces and connects with the community and how much the community embraces and connects with the organization.
Sure, it's a Friday afternoon, your parking lot's full.
Yeah.
Lots of people are here.
Right.
Who knew for a nature preserve that you'd have a crowd?
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
So are there other things you're looking forward to doing in the watershed?
Well, yes, absolutely. We are looking for, we have 13 preserves. And, one of the things that we're looking to the future to do is to really actively manage each of those preserves to create the best wildlife habitat. There's not habitat for the birds, and the butterflies is shrinking. So we want what we protect to provide the best value, to be their oasis.
Best value nature-wise.
Nature-wise.
Ecologically,
yep.
or whatever, right?
Yeah, and we think, exactly. And we think that when we do that, we're also creating great value for the community because, it's their oasis. It's where they go to, exercise,
walk the dog,
reduce, relax and unwind, connect with friends or, spiritually. So, it's sort of we get both, by investing in those habitats, I think everybody benefits. So that's something right now we've been doing a lot of work at Crossways, but we have 12 more preserves that, we have to shift from sort of passive management to more active management.
Seems to me you're extending your trail network also.
We are.
I know there was a DCNR grant involved in connecting Whitpain and Lower Gwynedd.
Yep.
So that people from Bluebell could walk over and down the Green Ribbon Trail.
Yeah, we're working, so that's another big thing we're doing is working with the municipalities in the region and the county and seeing where do we need to expand our trails to connect more people with the Green Ribbon Trail, which is sort of like it's like the lifeline through the watershed.
Now, when you say actively manage, you mean each preserve is going to have its own strategy, and that's what you'll be working to make it do.
Right, exactly. Yep.
Okay. Now, I've also noticed some other conservancies. I know you work with the Natural Lands Trust. Mm-hmm. You guys hold easements on each other's properties and whatnot, and they're busy replanting meadows.
Okay.
Is that something you're interested in?
Watershed? Well,
sure.
So like at Crossways, for example, we've done a lot of work replanting that meadow, which was like invasive grasses and not native meadow species. And native matters in the sense that the butterflies, they are attuned and their life cycle is connected to certain species that are native because that's what they evolve, that's what they adapted to.
That's what they get.
Yeah, so it's really about improving the meadow's beauty, but that also improves its usefulness to the animals that rely on it. Yeah.
Okay, well, you got a lot of work to do. That's all I'm going to say. Right? And if people want to learn more about the Wissahickon Valley Watershed Association, they can. We're going to put the information about the Watershed Association up on your screen. And you can visit their website or come down to 4 Mills and visit them. As for me, if there's anything I can help you with in a state government matter, my information will be on the screen in just a moment. Join us again for a legislative report, and thank you, Gail Farmer of the Wissahickon Valley Watershed Association, for visiting with us today.